All right, here's our video, our 14th video today on living environment regions, and we're talking about activation energy, and we're also going to be talking about metabolism, as you can see there. So what is activation energy? So let's get a clean page going. So let's write activation energy. Activation, and that's the key word, right? Activate, start, activation energy, the energy to get started. Activation energy. So we're talking about chemical reactions. Chemical reactions that happen in our body and happen elsewhere, right? So in the body, we'll say biochemical reactions, which we'll talk about in a minute. So remember our chemical reactions. They'll, some reactant here, some reactant. The reactant will yield a product. And in that, there is energy. Energy will be released. But in activation energy, it's getting the energy here so we can create the product, so we can yield the product. So it is the start. It is the start, it is the boost. Think of it as the boost energy. The boost energy. And let's draw an example. Let's say we have this hill over here, and we have this ball, and we want to push the ball over the hill. So this push would be the activation energy. The push is the activation energy. It's the boost. And hopefully it will go over the mountain. Over the mountain, right? An Ozzy Osbourne song. Now, let's get another color here. Let's say that you pushed the ball. Let's say we had another hill over here, and you pushed the ball, and it didn't make it. It stopped right there. Well, then there was not enough activation energy, and that happens inside our bodies sometimes. There's not enough activation energy. Let's write that. Not enough. So, again, with activation energy, it is the start of the chemical reaction. It is that energy needed to start a chemical reaction. So let's write that down. Let's clear this out. So again, it's the energy needed to start a chemical reaction. So, and the weird thing is sometimes, we need energy for things to make energy. So let's get a better example. When we're looking at molecules, let's say we had a molecule here, well, just an atom over here, we had an atom here, there's atoms all over the place. They need to bump into each other. They need to bump into each other because they're moving. They're all moving everywhere. We talked about this in previous videos, right? The energy of movement is, so I'll write it again, the energy of movement is kinetic energy. And there are many types of kinetic energy. For example, in the body, we'll talk about thermal energy. So everything is moving. Everything in the universe is moving. All these atoms are moving. Everything inside you are moving. And so when atoms do bump into each other, they can create, if it's fast enough and the collision is hard enough, they can create energy, right? They can create energy. So let's look at some bonds. Let's say, for example, we had a bond, right? We had these two oxygen molecules. So here we have O2. There's O2. And you see this is a bond. They're bonded together. And to break that bond is what would cause energy, right? Breaking the bonds. Breaking the bonds around you. So if you break the bonds, a little docking over there, breaking the bonds will create energy. Breaking the bonds will create energy. The thing is, it's not easy to break bonds. So let's look at a picture of that. So here we have methane and oxygen. So here we have the carbon and hydrogen, 4 hydrogen molecules. Right here's in gray. Get our pen going over here. We'll use blue. Why not? So here's we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen. That's why it says H subscript 4 and 1 carbon molecule. And you can see they're all bonded together. So if we break these bonds with oxygen, you see oxygen is bonded together. We have two. See, there's one here, and there's two. There's two O2s, two of the O2 molecules, oxygen molecules, and we breathe O2. So you can see if we put these together, this is the reactant, and they will yield these products. And you can see now that the bonds are broken, they're creating new bonds. So here we had these two oxygens, they bonded to the one carbon. Now we have that. And the four hydrogen bonded to the other two oxygen, and they created water. So bonds are broken, bonds are formed. Bonds are broken, bonds are formed. And that breaking of bonds creates energy. And for this to happen, of course, you need activation energy to start it. Let's draw a little graph here. So let's say we had a little graph right here. And I'm going to create this like kind of a hill here. We want to get over that hill. So over here, put a different color. Let's say this thing in purple here is the reactants, whatever they are. Remember we said reactants need this energy, this boost, this activation energy. I'll write it up here. Activation energy to get started, to break the bonds. So if this thing is moving and it breaks those bonds, eventually it will yield the product or the products. So this part here under this curve, kind of looks like a bell curve, we'll put some arrows. This is the activation energy. That's the energy involved. Again, with activation energy, it provides the push, the boost, the push, the boost needed to start a chemical reaction, from the reactant to yield a product. And the sum of all these processes, all these reactions going on in our body are biochemical. They're biochemical reactions, and that's called metabolism. So let's do that briefly. Clear that out. Let's write metabolism. Metabolism. And we're going to talk more about metabolism in the next video. So metabolism is the sum of all the biochemical, I said biomedical before, biochemical reactions going on in our body. We could say in an organism. And metabolism is vital to us. So again, the basic way of thinking of this is metabolism is an internal process. And the body, what's happening very basically, and we're going to go over this again in the next video, basically the body is going to convert what you eat and drink into energy. We had videos on this, for example, and body wants glucose. So that's basically what metabolism is. The body converting what you're eating into glucose. And metabolism is a chemical process that takes place in your body. So to breathe, to think, to circulate your blood, to keep warm when it's cold, to keep cool when it's warm, to grow, all that is metabolism. And we'll talk about that in the next video. So just to review, activation energy is the boost that reactants need. It's that push. So a reactants can take place and yield products. And metabolism is an internal process, which is the sum of all the biomedical reactions. I said medical again, the biochemical reactions in an organism. Okay, next video, more metabolism.